Welcome to the Table Service Podcast, where we'll dish on all things support, success, and beyond with the people and companies building the future of customer experience. Table Service is presented by Tavilo Consulting, and I'm your host, Jordan Hooker. Stephen Wood is a veteran customer experience leader who has driven major change across global support organizations at Oracle, Deltek, Mediafly, Harry, and Cipher. He's rebuilt operations end-to-end, introducing pod-based team structures, implementing escalation and incident management, and creating data-driven reporting that improves CSAT and cut backlog. He's known for turning complex challenges into measurable results, whether that's designing a backlog health model adopted across regions, embedding compliance into ticket quality processes, or leading cross-functional projects that reduce critical incident response times. Stephen is also the founder of Signals, a SaaS-based platform that helps companies spot customer risk early, act faster, and protect revenue. Building Signals from concept through MVP has sharpened his product strategy and go-to-market skills and deepened his understanding of AI-driven customer health. Outside of work, Stephen has been married to Becky for nearly 25 years. They have two teenagers, Alfie, who just started a law degree at university, and Tilly, who is at college studying photography, film, and media. Stephen, welcome to the table.
Thank you very much, Jordan. That makes me feel really old. It's been 25 years and, two teenage kids.
Oh, man. You're just getting started, man. We'll see for our guests who may not be familiar with you or are a little bit familiar but want to know more. Would love for you to take a few minutes to tell us a little bit more about yourself. Let's hear the story.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've been in CX probably, majority of my career, starting way back in 2012 when I joined a small company that no one has ever heard of called Responses, but everyone would have got an email from their systems. I've scaled businesses globally. I had the pleasure of introducing a sport team into Japan, to Denmark, Germany, Philippines. Nice. Had some great times. But recently, I've started really focusing on a new product called Signals, which is, as you mentioned in my biography, all around spotting the risk of churn and figuring out how you can get on top of that before that churn really hits your bottom line as a company. So it's kind of like a revenue protection engine. And I guess the journey from there really comes from having to react to customers who are in a really unhappy place, but no one's ever seen those signals before, or no one's joined the dots. There might be information in a support ticket, or there might be something around billing that finance haven't told us about, or there might be some product usage data. But all these signals are kind of in different systems.
Yes.
And what the Signals platform does is actually pulls it all together via API-driven calls and assigns a risk score to that. And then the magic comes in the way that we use AI to augment that and start to suggest playbooks, or back to green plans, as we call them, which you can then use to get that customer back from an unhealthy place really early on, because you're using those signals to track what's going on. So you're not being so reactive. And as we'll touch on later, I'm sure reactivity in the business is probably the biggest cause of wasted revenue or wasted money in a business.
Sure.
You think about an escalation going to your CEO, the cost that does to the business is huge. I mean, talking about the cost of a CEO's time, that's a lot of money. So
yes, absolutely.
Talk about that sort of revenue as well.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk through that. I know that I've already seen the product. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit and talk about the background of where that came from and the thinking around it. So let's jump right into that conversation. So talk with me a little bit. You just mentioned a few of them, but what are the hidden costs of ignoring customer risk?
Yeah. So, I mean, the obvious one is churn, is ARR, right? It's costs of business, so, the impact on your EBITDA. But actually, it goes a lot deeper than that. You're looking at loss expansion revenue. An unhappy customer will not entertain a conversation around upsell or cross-sell. So that's the first one. Cost of acquiring customers is huge. And the cost of a churning customer doesn't even... So you lose one customer, you've got to get another customer to replace that. But cost of acquisition is massive when you think about all the time and energy that goes into that. We touched on it earlier on, cost of firefighting. If you think about a customer coming in and the car's on fire, the wheels are smoking, and it's basically coming into your organisation, basically on fire.
Right.
The cost of putting that fire out is huge. Everyone's got to run to save that.
Yes.
And what they're actually doing is taking time away from customers who really need help as well. Obviously, that burning customer needs help.
Sure.
But you're rocking the boat continuing. There's other bits around time internally. I've mentioned that earlier on with CEO time. That's expensive, or COO, Chief Customer Officer. If you add all the people in an organization who've got to jump on board that customer because we're about to churn, that's huge.
Sure.
Think about the brand damage you're getting. Customers talk a lot. Have you heard about that company? People never like, they're always churning. Their platform was always down. That sort of message spreads.
Sure.
And that also impacts on your internal morale. If you're in a team or a company where your customers are always churning, chances are you're going to lose some really good stuff because like,
Yes.
I'm done with this. And then you've got the hidden cost of acquisition, acquiring new staff. So although often we just see that ARR value, the cost isn't just that. It goes so much deeper than that.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about that impact in terms of the organization itself. Like, we'll talk about culture a little bit and how we embed this, but let's think about that in terms of, you and I talked a lot about support teams and support organizations. Obviously, that's where I've spent most of my career, and you've spent a good bit of your career there. What's the impact just on people as you think about day-to-day dealing with a culture and a company that is not managing those challenges? What do you think the impact is to your people that are on the front lines?
It's horrific. I won't name the company or the customer, but I worked at a company once where that customer would often see failing integrations going on. And what would happen is they would escalate. It would go straight to the CEO because that's where they go to. The reputational damage to the support team was awful because the CEO, all they ever saw were problems with support.
Right.
That message would get across to the other C-suite executives, and they would also see that team was down. So the whispers around the business are they're endemic.
Yes.
And that team gets squashed down. And people hear that, don't they? You hear the water cooler moment of, here's support screwed up again. But if you look at it, you and I both know that it's never support that screws up.
Sure.
The problem is somewhere else. And that's exactly what the Signals platform is designed to do, is to spot those signals. It might not be to do with support. It might be to do with a defect. A defect, it may just seem one defect, but that could be costing you as a business millions of dollars in lost ARR or lost sales. It could be, sorry, I was going back to that example of the burger brand that I can't mention. They would have lots of escalations every month about integrations that failed. So until we went back to root cause and figured out why they were failing, we've been spending money continually on firefighting.
Yes.
So it's about going from reactive to proactive. And as you know, Jordan, being proactive is much more exciting than being reactive.
Absolutely.
Because you know what you've got then, don't you? And if you can go to a customer and say, we know there's an issue, we're fixing it for you, that's so much better for the customer. It's better for you. You seem happier.
Right. Yeah.
So that to me is probably the biggest piece is perception of the brand of a customer experience.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That's what gets damaged, right?
Yes. And yeah, I think that proactivity also just builds trust. I mean, when a customer recognizes, one, we're willing to own up when something's wrong, but we've also built systems that help us identify that and solve those problems before it becomes a bigger problem or before the customer is even aware. It just really helps with the trust factor.
It does.
That is so critical.
Absolutely. There's one company I work for, and the engineering team, the DevOps team, had all these dashboards which would tell them how healthy the platform was, but they wouldn't share them with anyone else in the business until I said, look, you share it with us, we can be proactive to our customers. As soon as we start being proactive, saying, look, we can see there's a slowdown on these servers, knowing it would impact a certain customer, we could pick up the phone. In the old days, a phone, all those things on the actual on the desk with a handset and everything, you could pick up the phone and speak to someone and say, look, just so you're aware, there's a major issue going on. And that is golden because it, like you say, builds trust.
Yes.
And customers aren't going to go, oh, God, I've got to phone them up again. Or I don't know when it's going to be fixed. And that, I think, is a big piece for customers. If you don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes, next 20 minutes, you're in a fight or flight situation, aren't you? That kind of that fear sort of moment.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really good call in terms of just understanding how much that changes everything. I mean, it changes the culture, it changes the customer experience, it changes your revenue, it changes the way you work. So it's a critical piece in terms of being proactive and developing that. Let's jump into the next thought there. So how do we take this customer health data we've been talking about, all of these pieces, how do we turn that into a living action plan that allows us to go from reactive, like we've been talking about, to that proactive model that we'd love to see every company use?
Great question. So I'm going to go back on what I always say. Data isn't everything here. Data is just a starting point. You can generate all sorts of data in a support team, and it will tell you all sorts of things.
Yes.
But unless you've got an action plan tied to that data, it's just data.
Right.
Doesn't do anything. You can say, I've had 10 escalations this week. Well, so what? So you've got to turn those so whats into aha moments.
Yeah.
So I've seen that. We've got to do something about it. So an action plan, to me, is like this. It's like a back to green plan in my perspective. How do we get a customer from being really unhappy to being back to green? And that actually starts way before they get to a critical point. That starts when you first start seeing those subtle signs, like they've cancelled a meeting, or they've raised 5 issues this week, or even worse, they haven't raised any issues for months.
Right.
Those signs are where you go, right, let's start looking into the data and look at joining all those different bits together and figure out what it means. So first of all, you've got to understand what the data is telling you. Then you've got to actually speak to the customer. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't do. They don't go, actually, let's find out from the customer what's going on.
Right.
Because you might go off on a tangent and the customer like, actually, that's not a problem for us. Or even worse, you ignore it and the customer's sitting there getting more and more unhappy. So the first thing you want to do is have a conversation with the customer and say, look, we think you might be unhappy here. What's the problem?
Yeah.
What would good look like to you? Because if you get that question right, then you can use that to shape the next steps of the back to green plan. You can start to say, right, the issues in product, they've got a lot of defects. That's causing problems. So let's get engineering on this. Or they think that the legal agreements around the terms and conditions aren't right. Well, let's get the legal team onto that. Support sucks. They're always missing SLAs.
Sure.
Let's dig into that one as well. So you've got to look at it in terms of layers. Each layer builds up part of that back to green plan. And then you can start to build an action plan from that and say, well, we need someone from product to be involved,
right,
to prioritize defects, or to let them know that their defects aren't going to be fixed. Because if they're not going to be fixed, well, you've got to tell them that.
Sure.
And then the next big piece is that constant communication. You can't just go, yeah, we understand the problem. You've got to tell them what you're going to do. And then you've got to keep honest with that as well and actually deliver on those plans. And you've got to keep people internally aligned to what you've got to do.
Yes.
So that's how the Signals platform is based on that key concept of data in, understand what that data is telling you about, creating those back to green plans, and then delivering those back to green plans to the customer. And then by understanding those signals, you can see how healthy your customers are.
Yes, absolutely. Tell me a little bit too, in thinking about that, you mentioned bringing in cross-functional partners for pieces of this. This is not just something support does or customer success does. This is something that the whole organization needs to do. And we'll talk about wider culture here in a few moments, but let's think about what does it look like to even just start that conversation of being able to bring product into those conversations, to bring legal into those conversations, to bring sales and marketing into those conversations. What do you think that looks like to start that process, and why is it so critical to bring all those partners in?
Yeah, that's a fundamental point, actually. It's got to come from the top down. You can't go from the bottom up. It can't just come from support or success or product. It's got to come from a CX level. Because you need to have all of your C-suite aligned to the single goal of protecting the revenue.
Right.
If you protect revenue, then as a big business, you're not wasting time and energy trying to acquire new customers. So it's got to start at that top level, and you've got to make it a cultural change. So you've got to say, right, this hour every Thursday afternoon is when we talk about our critical customers, and the representatives that are needed have got to be there. No ifs or buts. This is an immovable meeting unless you've got a really good reason. That's where it starts. And you make everyone accountable. It's not a blame game. It's not about why has product not delivered on this? Why has development created defects? Why is support missing SLAs? Why is finance not billing properly?
Sure.
There's reasons behind all those.
Mm-hmm.
So the next layer down is not looking at it as a blame game. It's about continual service improvement.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take those problems and go, well, how do we stop that from occurring next time?
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, these churn events, these risk events are actually really good for a business.
Mm-hmm.
Because conversely, they actually help you improve.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't see them, well, there's two ways to look at it. You either see them and do nothing. That's the worst one.
Mm-hmm.
You see them and react and fix and move on. That's better.
Mm-hmm.
But the best one is to go, we've seen it, we've fixed it, and now let's understand why that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that outage occur? Let's
Mm-hmm.
look at trying to reduce the impact of it going again.
Mm-hmm.
And continue, we're iterating on that as well. Because it's not these back to green plans aren't a one and done sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like take it out of the bookshelf, read the playbook, put it back on the place. It's iterating on that. So,
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And over time, that becomes a cultural norm. It becomes
Mm-hmm.
part of the DNA of a company.
Yes.
As long as you can get your CEO and chief customer officer invested in that, then that's the best place to start from.
Yes, absolutely. I suspect a lot of folks who might be listening to this who are support leaders, success leaders, not sitting in the C-suite, who have the ability to go and even then like try to push this down and influence this. Even then, we often see initiatives from the top don't make it across the culture. But I assume there's a lot of folks that are thinking, this sounds great, but I know how our culture works. I'll come introduce this idea and this concept, and everyone will nod politely in the meeting, and then they'll just move right back to what they do. In a culture like that, in an organization like that, what do you think the first steps are for, let's say, a support leader who's like, you know what, I see it. I get the vision, but I know that we're still treated like a cost center here. I know that we're still treated as the glorified data delivery of understanding. This is what's happening with customers this week. Like, we come in and we show you a pretty dashboard during the executive meeting every week. You say thanks, and then we move on unless something's bad on the dashboard, and then you ask how we're going to fix it. What does someone do if they're in a culture like that to start to chip away at that in order to see this type of an initiative actually make an impact?
Yeah, I think you've got to turn it into language that everyone in the business understands, and that's purely and simply revenue.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that everyone understands is money. Okay,
Yes.
If you can, as a leader in your area, turn it around, flip the equation, and don't talk about the customer, talk about the revenue. Don't talk about the ARR, talk about the cost of the business. If we don't do this, we're going to lose $5 million in deals next year because these defects aren't being fixed. This customer churns. Yes, they're only worth $100,000, but that could be 10 of those customers. All of a sudden, you've lost $1 million.
Yes.
So my maths wasn't correct there. I said 10,000, didn't I? You get my maths.
Sure, absolutely.
It's been a long day, right? So you've got to turn into that, and also you've got to thread it into the narrative of what those leaders understand and what they really care about. So from a sales perspective, how is it going to stop them from being able to sell if you don't do this? From a product perspective, what's the risk of not doing this plan? It will stop adoption. And if you don't adopt a product, the product dies. Right? So you've got to turn it around into what it means. From a support leadership perspective, it's dead easy. We understand that it's around reducing the amount of escalations. It's making customers happier. It's CSAT, it's NPS. From a customer success perspective, it might be around cross-sell or upsell or making customers sticky. Like I say, from product, it's around usage. So you've really got to tie it from that. And then you can also attack it from the board level. If you've got a board at your company, which you almost certainly have, make them see the data. And that's one of the things that I've done in previous companies is tie that data to a higher level, not at the individual customer level, but at the company level.
Right.
You've got to always raise your game and say to yourself, well, what would I expect my boss to want to see?
Mm-hmm.
What would their boss want to see? Actually, what would their boss's boss want to see?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can start elevating the way that you think,
Mm-hmm.
not think as a support leader, but think as a CX leader or a CEO,
Yeah.
then that's a game changer.
Absolutely. I love this conversation because I think it hits on a challenge that I know a lot of support leaders have, because I certainly have it and have had it of we didn't get this kind of training in the early days of our business. We were given support leadership. We were told, go build the thing. People might be very happy with the level of work we're doing, with the efficiency we're delivering, with the CSAT scores we're delivering, with even the data we're delivering that's pointing out where there's problems and challenges. But then to be able to get a seat at the table and be able to speak in that way feels like something we've done a very poor job of training early support leaders and CX leaders to have that type of understanding.
I think we have, and I think it's actually I think it's the DNA of support. Is we're very good at seeing ourselves as the lowest kind of common denominator within the business. We're not, and I think that's because everyone says that support is an entry level role. It certainly isn't. You think about a support person, they've got to wear 5 or 6, 7 different hats.
Sure, right.
And you can't expect someone fresh out of college or uni to be able to have that tenacity or that approach. But I think because we're always told that it's an entry level role, we think, well, it's entry level.
Right.
So I think we're also pacifiers as a support organisation. I think that's what we do.
Yes.
We pacify people. We fix things.
Yeah.
We're not exposed to that level of financial control. But I say it's something that all leaders in CX should be doing.
Yes.
They should be taking control of their own learning and say, right, let me understand more about EBITDA and about cost of acquisition and about ARR and MRR.
Sure.
And all of that good stuff to understand what it means to you as a business. Because then, to your point, you can change it from being a cost center to a revenue protection center.
Yes. Yeah.
You may not ever get to the revenue center, which is the panacea, it's the dream, isn't it?
Sure.
Where all sport teams want to go, but that's
right.
very rare you'll get there.
Yeah.
As long as you can start to see yourself as a revenue protection center, that's a changing point, I think, for a sport team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been really enjoying. Zach Hamilton's new book, The Experience Performance System, he talks a lot about this of what does it look like to develop a understanding of, we're not just going into the boardroom or the executive meeting to show a dashboard to make the CEO or the COO or the CFO feel good for this week. Our job is to go in there and help them see this is where the problems are. The problem is we're not communicating in a way that they understand. And so I think helping us push through that challenge is a really critical piece, and something I hope we can start to do for younger sport leaders coming in, so they don't necessarily have to go and figure this all out 15 years later. We can help them early on in the process to understand what that looks like. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's all about tooling as well. Is giving our leaders access to the right tooling. It shows up. I mean, you look at someone like Gainsight, they did an immense job for customer success.
Yes.
In giving them access to the right data. Support, we don't really have that. We've got Zendesk and we've got Intercom and we've got whatever other tool you're going to use right now or a service now, whatever it is. But historically, we don't have a tool as a support leadership that will go, this tells me about the risk. This tells me about the impact of what I'm doing to the business. And that's where, to put a shameless plug in, that's where the Signals software really comes into its own.
Yes.
Because it allows you to connect all that information and it puts it at the tips of where you need to be. So as a support leader, you can go, well, which customers are causing me concern at the moment? Which ones are causing the wider business concern?
Yeah.
And what can I do to influence that and to change that narrative?
Sure.
Because as you know, Jordan, an angry customer or an unhappy customer makes a lot of noise and they burn your day just in an instant, right?
Yep, absolutely.
We've all been there, haven't we? It's like, that customer again. And you know that when that escalation comes in, you've got days worth of work to get back to where you should be. But if you can be more proactive, if you can see those signals coming through that business, you see where the name came from? It's almost like you can start to see those things and go, actually, I can see product usage dropping down. Let me go and check into that.
Yeah.
Or I can see CSAT has gone up. Fantastic. Because
Right.
signals are positive as well as negative.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. Tell me a little bit, kind of as we come to the end of this conversation, tell me a little bit about what's next for Signals. I know you're in the process of building, you're testing it out. I've seen a good bit of the interface and really excited for what you're building. Tell me a little bit about what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go back a bit in terms of how it all works and kind of the idea. So
Yeah.
the idea is it ingests information from multiple different systems, from either your support platform, your CRM, your product usage data. It could come from finance, any part of any system that you want to connect into it. It's all API driven, so it's
Yeah.
really simple to do that. It comes in, it'll calculate based on different things it sees. It conglomerates all that data, couldn't think of the word then, conglomerates all that data, flattens it, and goes, that is a signal that something's happening.
Yeah.
It then gives you a health score. It then allows you to attach that to a back to green plan, which is automatically for you. It also puts a bit of AI on there as well. Everyone loves AI, but AI isn't the core of it. AI is more to help, to kind of be predictive about what's changing. Now, the really cool stuff and stuff that we've not seen anywhere else before, anyone else doing it, is being able to inquire into the Signals platform from outside it. So
Yes.
if you put yourself in the shoes of a CSM, you're in a meeting with a customer, they mention something about churn or about looking at a competitor, you can quickly type a note on Slack or Teams
Yep.
and stick it straight into the platform.
Yeah.
Recalculate scores and everyone's up to speed.
Yeah.
You're a CEO about to go into a meeting with a big customer. You want an overview of what's going on there. You type in at Signals, tell me about X customer,
Yeah.
and it will give you a health score. You'll go,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
I know what's going on there. So it's an ecosystem which really plugs everyone into that single 360 view, but it adds intelligence over the top of it.
Yeah.
So that's what it's doing. At the moment, we are looking for design partners in terms of joining us and stress testing and saying, actually, this really fits our use cases and X, Y, or Z, or it doesn't. We'd love to see that.
Sure.
So we're looking for early adopters. And the benefit of that is that you get early adopter discounts
Yes.
on the product. It's already very good value. You can also help design what you want to see as a platform as well. We're looking at being more of a, rather than being really tailorable like Gainsight is, that takes a lot of time.
Yes.
It takes months to implement Gainsight. Our testing shows that you can implement Signals in literally minutes. All you need is an API key for Zendesk or Intercom or whatever it is, and you're off and away. So you can literally be up and running in less than an hour and generating signals for it.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I've got a fantastic CTO on board. He is the CTO of a company called GeoTrax, who are a GPS tracking software company used by the likes of British Heart Foundation, Duke and Venerborough, loads of other sort of outdoorsy companies. He's on board with us. He's doing the back end. I'm designing the front end, and we're ready to go. So we're going to put some announcements out very shortly.
Awesome. Wonderful. Now, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to hear more about the product or to get involved early on, like you're talking about, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
There's a couple of ways. So you can either go to our website, which is signals-app.com. So you can go to that. And there's a sign up button on the website. You can email me directly at stephen@signals-app.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include those links down in the show notes as well so folks can get to you very easily. But Stephen, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today and joining us here at the table.
Amazing. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You've been listening to the Table Service Podcast. You can find out more about today's guest in the show notes below. The Table Service Podcast is presented by Tavolo Consulting, hosted by Jordan Hooker, music by Epidemic Sound.